The parameters of Dak Prescott heading into this 2025 season. Of course, Dak Prescott is one of those quarterbacks that got a lot of things to prove. A lot of people go straight to the money or the playoff talk or big game talks. And this year, with CeeDee Lamb on one side and with Pickens on the other side, there should be a situation whereas we should see some aspect of Dak Prescott performing at a higher level than what he performed at last season. Granted, I know a lot of people look at a whole bunch of other things, but regardless of the situation and scenario, he will be looked upon as a guy that needs to showcase and improve, even though it's a team sport. But people going to have their eyes set on Dak Prescott for the 2025 season, especially since they have two weapons, Lamb and Pickens. And when we start talking about Pickens in general, this guy can high point the ball. He got short area quickness. He's a physical guy. And of course, he may have a few screws loose, but you need some of that inside this building. So we will be looking strongly at Pickens and seeing what he's able to do. And as you can see, he high pointing the ball and pulling it out of the sky. But this will be a driving force of what the Cowboys should operate at. And when we start talking about running game, one of the things that we want to talk about is, can we run the ball? Can we get the yards that's necessary? Two things that I want more than anything else. Can we run the ball when it's necessary? And can we stop the run when it's necessary? Now, Hunter Luepke, I think the world of him. He can catch the wheel route. He can run in between the splits. He's a physical guy. He's finesse at times. Anything that Kyle Juszczyk was able to do for 49ers land, just think of him as a Kyle Juszczyk light. I'm not putting him in that stratosphere or in that element, but I'm just looking at it from a general aspect that if the Cowboys utilize him a little bit more, then he should be able to give us some type of impact in return. And we've seen it from a few snippets here and there. We just need to see a little bit more of it, right? And speaking of running backs, low to the earth, hard to get down. He's just as tall as that trash can that he's running in between of. And there's no shade at him. He's built to part, right? And he got lower center of gravity. Keep this in mind. The last coach that coached him in college is coaching him now. And his numbers were right there with Jahmyr Gibbs, as well as Bijan Robinson. Not saying that he's those guys, but production and productivity are those things, right? And if he can give us half of what he did in college, right? The elusiveness, the ability to separate, and the ability to run in between the splits, I truly believe that he can be some type of short area impact for us, right? If utilized correctly. And that's all I'm getting at. And I'm not here to cast aspersions or spit upon Deuce Vaughn. But what I'm getting at, we need to see something back in return. And hopefully he will bring us just that, Cowboy Nation, Deuce Vaughn. And speaking of tight end, if anyone need to stand tall or not at all, it's Jake Ferguson, right? So many people talk about Jake Ferguson fall from last season, and we're not living up to expectations. Of course, we got Schoonmaker, Brevin Spann, Ford, Fairweather, a whole bunch of other guys that's fighting for a role. Even John Stevens, or however you say that kid's name, Stephen John, keep forgetting his name. He stayed hurt, but he's one of the guys that when you look at it, he built to part, right? But Jake Ferguson is a guy that got a lot to prove going into a contract year. He have endorsements by Travis Kelce, who's no one to sneeze at in the National Football League. And I take his words heavily. And if he said that he reminds him of him, then, or the person that's closer to him, then let's see if this can materialize into something more tangible. I have high hopes for Jake Ferguson because in that last playoff game, if you're looking for anyone in that Green Bay playoff game to stand tall or not at all, it was him. It was him. He's the guy that have that dog mentality. So if it's a situation and scenario that now that he will have the middle of the field one-on-one encounters, whether you're going to move a linebacker on him or a safety, and he can showcase to the world that, hey, I belongs, then, hey, I'm running all the way to the bank with that. It's just that now a lot of pressure is gone from him because Pickens is here. And hopefully we get real trueness to run game. And those are the things that I want to see, Cowboy Nation. And speaking of coaches and the way they move around in this space, it could just be these guys right here. Number 3, as it relates to Pickens, 88, and as well as Tolbert as your 3 wide receivers. And Shotty is a guy that will play around with you, but he means business, right? And Dak Prescott, one sleeve Dak, if he can showcase and give us a lot of things as it relates to hitting 88 or 3 or to a degree, Javonte Williams, that's him right there. I know you see a 3, but it's another 3 on the other side there, right? And Tolbert, remember this before we move on to the next slide. Tolbert, around this time last season, was considered a number 1. I don't want this to leave your cranium. In the words of my guy, the playmaker.
Let me crack your cranium and fertilize your brain.
I don't want that to leave your cranium. So we are way ahead of that. Now, granted, Tolbert, to this point and to this degree, I truly believe that at the 3rd option now, he can really shine because he was giving us little sparks here and there as your 1st or 2nd option during these times. And then, of course, in some games, he was considered the 1 option because of the fact that he can play on the outside and Lamb played primarily in the inside. So what I'm getting at is not to take away from Lamb, by the way, but what I'm trying to paint the picture is that by natural order, you can't double team everyone. And now that Tolbert should see 3rd or 4th DBs, he should be able to eat. And he should be able to eat really good out there on the field, Cowboy Nation. And Dak Prescott directing and about to throw a pass. This is just practice, though. You know, some people gonna say, hey, he telegraphed his passes anyway. Yes, indeed. That's Dak Prescott. So hopefully he can get things going in the right direction, Cowboy Nation. And that is a pass from Milton to, I believe that's 3 right there. Yeah. Get familiar with 3, y'all. It just make sure that if you got a few dollars in your pocket, go ahead and go get that jersey because it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. I'm telling you, week 1, week 2, week 3, if everyone remains healthy, it's going to be nice for us, Cowboy Nation. Extremely nice. And speaking of nice, Coach, he's doing his job and his duty, and he's performing well out there as it relates to the feedback that we're hearing from the actual people that's inside the Star. And they love his ability to approach everyone and meet them where they at and also push them where they at. And I love that. And he asked them the hard questions and the soft questions, like what you did this weekend. You know, where were you? What's going on? How your family? How your dog doing? He doing all of those things. And something about continuity and rapport and communication, it helps alleviate a lot of things, Cowboy Nation. And I think that Coach got a good grip on his team. And people, when you know someone, you fight harder. When you don't know them, you kind of say, hey, I really don't know this person. Let me keep it moving, dust my feet off and keep it moving. But since he's getting on the personal relation and being able to add in his thoughts to it, it can all work out for the good, Cowboys. Yes. And speaking of rookies, Tyler Booker is on pathway of doing great things. We just need to see him now when it's time to go up against the one-on-ones, especially since we lamenting the fact that this would be Tyler Booker versus a Mozzie, Tyler Booker versus a Osa, Tyler Booker versus a Solomon Thomas, and anybody that's on that front. Iron sharpen iron, steel sharpen steel. If he can anchor down and do his job, and if Dak Prescott can move around freely, then we will see a better improvement on this offensive line for your mind. And I can't wait to see him out there on the field with actual pads on too, by the way. Speaking of that, Joe Milton, 288. Yes, indeed. Cowboy Nation. Can't wait to see how all of this work out. Look at him nosing the ball, bring it into his body after catching it. That's a good thing, right? I know he looks slim on this picture. This angle could be looking deceiving. The helmet way bigger than the body, but it's just the angle. CeeDee Lamb done filled out really nicely, and pause if necessary. All right, so this is what coaches do, man. They encourage, they push, they motivate. They got to be the counselor out there on the field, and they got to lead the troops. And he's just talking to the undrafted guy and saying, hey, if you want to be on this team, come on with it. No excuses. You got to lay it out straight and be ready. One of the things that I do like that we heard about everything is that Shotty, he's in every position group. He's making sure that everything is done the right way and the proper way. Every T's are crossed, every I's are dotted. No big I's and no little U's. And he is out there making sure that everything works and formulate right to the right processing in the system here, Cowboy Nation. With all of that being said, this was part 2. Appreciate you guys for OTAs final review, and mini camp is right around the corner next week, so we'll be looking into mini camp and seeing who will elevate themselves from here when you had the veterans and the rookies all together competing, and a little bit more of an aggressive type of approach to mini camp opposed to OTAs. For those who don't know, OTAs is organized team activity. Mini camp, you doing a little bit more and it elevates from there. Cowboy Nation, that's all the time that we have at this moment. Be sure to hit that like button, share this content. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys.